Marcus Vitruvius Pollio is known almost exclusively through his work, De Architectura. This book defines civil engineering, which is the branch of engineering concerned with the design and construction of public works. Vitruvius was a significant historical figure because his plans for architecture are still used to this day. His claim, which is clearly shown in his work, is that structure should exhibit three qualities. It must be solid, useful, and beautiful. A lot of his work seems to be famous for his definition of symmetry and measurements, but he did a lot more than just that. He kept records of how decorative work should be done, where it should be, how roads should be made, as well as how a successful city structure functions. He mapped out cities defining where the poor people should live versus the rich, how homes should differ but still be functional. He also defined what it takes to be qualified as a successful architect, noting in his work, let him be educated, skillful with the pencil, instructed in geometry, know much history, have followed the philosophers with attention, understand music, have some knowledge of medicine, know the opinions of the jurists, and be acquainted with astronomy and the theory of the heavens. Vitruvius got a lot of inspiration from the Greeks. He often referred to them in his books. He expressed a deep interest in history and science and would often refer to information in his books which would have otherwise been lost. Here is a picture of a caryatide. The first known reference of these statues was by Vitruvius when he was referring to Greek architecture. The caryatides represent the punishment of the women from the Greek town Caria, who were forced into slavery after siding with Persia instead of Athens during the Greco-Persian Wars. Their clothes usually signify their social rank, but here they're shown stripped of their rank, so that they might be obliged to appear forever as a type of slave, burdened with the weight of their shame, and so making atonement for their state, as stated in Book 1 of De Architectura. A brief description of his work will start with Book 1 of De Architectura, which is the introduction and includes a dedication to Augustus. It then goes over what an architect must know, and basic civil engineering. The second book begins with the story of Dinocrates, who was an architect to Alexander the Great. It then goes on to talk about building materials, such as types of wood, lime, concrete, and different types of stones. The third book, his most famous, is about symmetry, proportions, and their significance in temples. Book 4 is a continuation of Book 3. Book 5 gets into the smaller scale of things, where he first begins talking about the technical aspects of building planning. He describes how to design a working forum, baths, and especially the theater. Although much isn't known about Vitruvius, it seems that he truly loved the theater. Book 6 talks about weather and how buildings are made in accordance to the typical climate of certain areas. He then goes on to describe the functions of different rooms and more, all depending on the owner's social position. Book 7 is about interior decorations, such as wall paintings, decorative stones, and plasterwork. Book 8 is about water transportation using aqueducts. Book 9 starts off mentioning that architects deserve more honor than wrestlers and fighters. It talks about architects' great achievements, and finally he discusses more technical things such as sundials and water clocks. The final book is about different types of machines, featuring pulley designs, the principle of the lever, and other machines such as the water screw, a hydraulic organ, and catapults. Overall, Marcus Vitruvius was a very interesting character, with truly diverse interests, but one thing I think is certain is that he truly loved what he did. As mentioned in the introduction of his most famous third book, it is a shame that not everyone gets to explore all of their potential, but it is clear that Vitruvius recognized this problem at a young age and propelled himself forward by becoming well-versed in the all-around art of life.